Okay, welcome back to the Microburst 600 side-by-side build. I'm still working away on the wiring for the dash here. It's a big mess in here, but things are slowly coming together. So what I'm doing right now, I pulled the dash off. I just had it temporarily mounted, and I'm going to drill all the holes for these mounts. And I'm also going to drill the hole for this guy. That's for the winch connection. And then I need to drill a large hole to put the ignition switch through. And then I have it all marked on the underside here, all the holes for those mounts. Okay, I'm going to fire up the mill. I'm going to drill the winch connection out first. Got a 3/4 inch drill bit in there. And I think this is 1.25 inches. I have an end mill that big, so I'll just punch that through. And yeah, get this mounted in permanently, and then I can kind of finish up the wiring. Well, it's been a long time coming, but I finally finished installing this dash panel and all the electronics that go with it. So I have all my toggle switches on this side. This is the turn signal indicator. This is the plug for the winch. As you can see here, I got the tack mounted right in the steering wheel area. And then over on this side, I have the main ignition key. And then that's the main on and off switch. So all that's just wired into the bike wiring harness. Shifter's in place. Take a look under here. This is still a rat's nest of wires. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. But I tidied it up as much as I could. Things are kind of reasonable. There's a lot of stuff. But anyway. As long as nothing breaks down on me, I'm okay. Okay, let's turn the key on here. Okay, so that energizes those lights, dash panel, and then if I were to flick this on, you'd hear the fuel pump prime, but I don't have the. I just disconnected the computer and everything for now, just to kind of run these wires a little easier. So doing that really doesn't do anything. But I've got signals. So you can see there, my signals are blinking. Same on the other side. I've had all this stuff before, but now everything's in and permanent. So I've got the horn, ignition, that'll actually crank, 4-wheel drive, that will, that turns something on down in the front diff here. So if I start turning this drive shaft, it's kind of hard. Oh, it's too hard right now. Anyway, you'd actually see those guys engage. Headlights. Yeah, those are working. Ooh. And then the big LED light bar up top. And then this guy here, I have this on a separate switch. That's fed actually directly from the battery. It's not controlled by the key or anything. And that way there I can charge up anything off a USB port whenever I want. I just flick that thing on. That's it, I guess, for now. So yeah, dash is finished up. It's time to move on to the next thing. One of the last pieces to the puzzle here is getting the chain connected from the engine down to the Polaris transmission here. So you can see there's quite a bit of an offset. I have this part. I bought this off a fella. It's a basically it's a sprocket extender. The way this thing's machined, it slips right over the sprocket, and then you have the backing plate here, and then you bolt the two sides together, and then along with it I have this this gear and the chain, so that will ride on the sprocket extender shaft down into the sprocket into the transmission. So what I need to do is just, I haven't welded this sprocket on to the shaft yet, so what I need to do is figure out the best location of where this can go, get everything all lined up, and then I'm going to weld it in. And then this big shaft here coming off the engine will basically go into this bearing here just to give that shaft some support, because this thing wasn't obviously wasn't designed for that. And then what I'll probably end up doing is putting a chain tensioner on the somewhere over on this side, just to take the slack out of that chain. So I'll start working on this and figure out where this is going to get welded on. Okay, that sprocket's all welded up onto the input shaft for the transmission. So I'm going to throw that over in the sandblaster, and then I'm going to throw a quick coat of some black powder coating on it so that thing doesn't rust up on me. Okay, let's head it over. All right, got this guy in here baking. We're gonna bake this at 450 for about 5 minutes. And then we're gonna drop the temperature down to 400. And we're gonna bake that for an additional 20 minutes. Okay, so I just pulled this out of the oven after powder coating. I'm gonna slide it on, we'll get the chain on, and then we can start thinking about making the chain tensioner take the slack out of this thing. Let's hope this all fits. All right, last part I need to finish up this chain drive is the chain tensioner. So what I've come up with is just a really simple roller on a bearing that you can adjust just by loosening some bolts and sliding it. So this is the backing plate basically. So the bearing block, which is this guy here, bearing is going to sit in the middle, and that'll be attached to a roller. So this whole block can slide back and forth on this guy. So there's the bearing, there's the two pieces of aluminum, and then instead of using an actual sprocket, like an idler sprocket, I decided to go ahead with just a piece. This is solid Delrin, and I'm going to mount that on the bearing. I'm not a big fan of idler sprockets. I find they're noisy. The bearings in them are usually pretty cheap, and they just wear out prematurely. So I'm going to make my own using this nice big 1-inch through bore bearing here. Okay, going to head over to the mill, and we'll start cutting this stuff out.